nonprofit forward? You've come to the right place. Welcome to the Nonprofit Architect, where we are giving you the actionable steps you need to launch and grow your nonprofit organization. Now, here's your host, Travis Johnson.
Hey, welcome to the show. I'm sitting down today with Kalley Dunn from AmFund. Kalley, how are you today?
I'm doing great today. How are you, Travis?
If I said anything less than fabulous, I'd be lying. It's we're recording this, and it's like our birthday month. We're both November Scorpios, just coming out, riding that high, because everything we do, I guess, is arrogant. I don't know.
Your words, not mine.
There's so many people that get wrapped around the axle about what sign you are. I don't think the sign truly matters unless you look at statistics for certain categories of people, but we won't get into that today. Hey, Kalley, why don't you tell us a little bit what you do with AmFund?
Absolutely. Thank you, Travis. So I have the pleasure of working for the American Fundraising Foundation. We go by AmFund for short because that's a mouthful. And here at AmFund, we are a 501c3 nonprofit fundraising foundation. So I think it's the best place in the world to work and the best thing to be a part of, because we get to help all different causes all across the U.S. Doesn't matter if it's supporting healthcare, arts, or animals, or veterans, or children. We help them all. And by helping them, I mean raise funds. And more importantly, we raise unrestricted funds. So all day, every day, throughout the year, I get to connect with different nonprofit thought leaders like yourself and learn a little bit about, the struggles in different regions, different areas of the country, different sectors of this nonprofit world, and see if there are resources or funds or just tools available that will help make nonprofit leaders' lives easier. And so here at AmFund, we're able to do that through raising funds, through support of fundraising events, grants, resources, blogs, you name it. We're just trying to help nonprofits raise the funds they need to continue their critically important missions.
So you're doing a lot of what I'm doing. It's your mission to help the helpers, right?
That's your mission, absolutely. But I'm here to support it. Yes, I love that, helping the helpers. Just helping people help themselves. And it's all about, the education and the tools, and you don't know what you don't know. And so having conversations like this with other thought leaders in the nonprofit industry really helps just to spread the wealth and spread the knowledge. And, it does not have to be a secret. Someone's already invented the wheel. You don't have to reinvent it.
And the last time I checked, the wheel worked pretty dang well. I love the fact that you guys do so much, at fundraising. And then, did I hear you right? Do you award grants?
Yes, absolutely. So I'll take you back in history a little bit to 1999 when we were founded. And so we were really started as an organization to help support the special events, right? Those really big, high dollar, you bring in $1 million with this one event. Your black tie gala, your fashion show, that's where we got started. And, most organizations maybe host one special event a year, some two, some three, if they're including like a golf event or a fashion show. We were able to help with 100 events a year, and then 200, and then 300. So while we were making our own mistakes, we were able to stop nonprofits from continuing with maybe some fundraising pitfalls. And so, as we were able to do that over 20 years, we were teaching nonprofits, right? So they could do it on their own, because again, it's all about, teach a man to fish, that kind of mentality. And so as nonprofits were continuing to, take some of our knowledge with their fundraising events, we were like, okay, how else can we help? We've instilled this knowledge in them. We've shown up, we've championed for their cause. They've got this. What else can we do now? It's COVID, fundraising events aren't even really happening like they used to. So our board quickly developed a grant program to give back funds, just straight unrestricted funds through a simple application process. And we're in the middle of a cycle right now, actually this end of 2020 grant program we're doing, and we call them our Golden Pair Award grants. And so they are truly unrestricted. It's been an amazing method to help nonprofits and just get some funds back in. the grant program we did over the summer, we were able to give back over 52,000 unrestricted dollars. So I cannot wait to tell you where this winter grant program ends up.
That is so cool. I mean, like one of the things that really kills me in the nonprofit world is people are so unwilling to bolster their education and figure out the things that they don't know yet, which is one of the reasons why this podcast was started and why I think it's so important. But you guys have to do so many hundreds of events every year, and you're helping teach as you do it so you can do that stuff better. What does an organization have to do to partner with you to do fundraising?
So really, it's just about getting in touch. You know, we have a team of development professionals here. We are headquartered in Orlando, but we work across the United States. So we have development directors who are familiar with different territories, who work in the Mid-South or the West Coast or the East Coast, kind of stay abreast of the nonprofit trends and fundraising trends in the respective areas. But it's really just about, you know, getting in touch with us at AmFund. We have a simple request for more information on our website at amfund.org. And then when our grants are open, if you're applying, you know, strictly for a grant, the application is online and it's super simple. It's not one of those 5-day, 500-page grant applications with all the follow-up reporting and everything that goes along with it. You know, being that the funds are unrestricted, it was really important to our founders that we let the nonprofit leaders do what they do best. And that's, you know, the programs they provide, the services they provide, helping the people and animals that need their help. We're able to raise the funds, but we're not the ones who are doing the work. So, you know, let's not make them spend all this extra time on a grant application process. Let's make it simple and give them the funds to do what they need to do. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, some of those grant applications, you should get something just for finishing those monstrosities. So, like you're doing like advanced calculus, differential equations in this stuff. You've got to tell them like how you plan on saving the sun along with your mission. And it's like, what on earth are you hoping to discover through all of this stuff? Is that just the process to just weed people out because you don't really want to grant any money? I know that's not true, right? I know they want to give it. They want to make sure the right person gives it. But sometimes you wonder, like, are you sure you want to actually give this money away? But
and it's hard too, because sometimes you never even hear back. So it's like you, as like someone filling out a grant, you're putting your heart and soul and data and time and energy, blood, sweat, and tears sometimes into that request to hear nothing, not even like a no, you didn't get it, or here's some feedback, but just utter silence. So here we personally call every single grant applicant, everyone who reaches out on our website. We have conversations because yes, grant applications can be super impressive. I mean, numbers speak for themselves. The data is the data. But to us and our board and our founders, it's a lot about the people behind the purpose. You know, so how did the nonprofit treat their staff throughout COVID? You know, how are the staff doing? How's the team mentality? Did going through a pandemic or something like a loss of funding bring your team together, or did it tear your team apart? And so I think that's a really big piece of, you know, having those conversations too. It's about the people behind the purpose.
That's perfect. Absolutely. I've had so many conversations during this COVID time and talked probably ad nauseum about some of this stuff, but these are important conversations. There's a lot of people out there, and with this pandemic, that are hurting even more, and it's important to continue striving for your mission. And if your mission is no longer as relevant as it was pre-COVID, many organizations are tweaking, they're changing course, they're making what they're doing moving forward relevant. And I think that's so important.
It's that pivot word. I know we don't want to say it. It's been said so many times this year.
I'm not doing it.
It is. It's the word of the year, though. It's about pivoting. And so even if they did shift their services, shift their programs, maybe had to take a look at their mission and how they continue to serve and meet that mission. But it's really about the communication. They have to let people know what they're doing. Their donors need to be let know. Their patrons need to be let know. The people who receive services definitely need to be in the loop on what's going on. So it really starts, with their staff, their board, their internal teams on deciding that pivot and then getting that messaging out there. You don't know what you don't know. I'll say that again. And so as nonprofits are figuring out how they're going to shift or what, 2021 is going to look like, they need to let the world know. They really do. That's critically important.
And one of the ways people do that is they get on the media and talk about it. I've talked to a few newscasters, and I had an episode go out a few weeks back with Louis Cheney, he was a news reporter. He did articles. He had special interviews. We brought on nonprofits. And these are the things that reporters really, really, really love to do, because most of the time they're reporting the news and it's just bad news. Here's another event that sucked for a group of people. Here's another one that's equally terrible. And then the bright spot of their day, sometimes the bright spot of their week or month, is when they get to bring in nonprofit leaders to then showcase the good stuff that they're doing and then ask, hey, you've got the community is listening right now. What can the community do to support you? And you can go ahead and tell them that you always need volunteers and donors. But it's so important to communicate with the people in and around your organization. So what's some of the ways that you recommend that nonprofits continue that communication line with all of their different stakeholders?
Oh my gosh. Well, there are so many different mechanisms out there for continuing and keeping those lines of communication open. First on social media, nonprofits have so many tools at their disposal that they might not even know of, like their Facebook analytics or their Google analytics, their LinkedIn connections. All of that data is just at your fingertips. And once you really start looking at it, you can decide what shift in programming and messaging is best. Because looking at that data, you'll see when your donors log on, when your patrons log on, when people who receive services from your organization are most engaged with your posts. And so that data lets you know, okay, maybe we need to look at doing our fundraising event virtually. Okay, maybe we need to look at telemedicine as a way to, continue to serve this population. And so really, you just have to start with your research. And so then that gives you all the data to decide how you're going to shift your services or shift your fundraising. And then it also allows you the data to actually get that messaging out there. So something that we think is really important here for any event, I don't just mean a fundraising event where obviously the goal is to raise money, but any event, a community engagement event, maybe even a food drive, where you're gathering supplies or distributing them, you need to put a document together called a know before you go. So I don't know if you're familiar with that, Travis. Have you seen a know before you go, maybe from like traveling or something like that?
Well, I'm still active duty Navy. When I travel to different countries, I got to go to the State Department website and download all of this data and see what documents are required. And if I need to have my anthrax shots updated or any of that craziness, and make sure I get the embassy's number, just in case if I go to Mexico for my birthday and they try to spray me with alcohol before I sit down, I'll know who to call.
So yes, Travis, hopefully the know before you go that the nonprofits will be putting together will not have to be as in-depth as the know before you go you have to look at for some of your travels with the State Department and the data needed. Hopefully this will not be that in-depth, but it's still important to get that information out there. So you'll need to tell people where they need to show up. Is that virtually? Is that in person? Is that a certain website link? Is it an app? That's all new. So you need to let patrons know where they're needed. You need to let them know when they're needed. With these new virtual formats, events can happen online over the span of a week, over the span of 2 weeks. Are you really expecting your audience to be tuned in that entire time? Hopefully not, so you can look at some of that research and data we talked about before to really fine tune when you want your audience tuned in. And then besides that, you have to talk about all the different ways people can be engaged. So again, if you're delivering a program or a service, how are you delivering that? Do people need to log into an app, follow a website link? What do they need to do? Are you having a fundraiser and there's an auction that's a separate link from your event link? So now you have to explain, okay, have 2 computer screens, have one for the auction, one for the live stream event. It's just a lot of information that's needed. And, behind the scenes to us who are working in the nonprofit, it may seem second nature. It may seem brainless. Like, of course, just go to the website. What do you mean you don't understand it? But, we don't know what we don't know. It's that unconscious incompetence. And it's not, the fault of anyone except human nature. So we just have to continue to let our patrons know what's needed of them. There's a rule of 7. I'm not sure. Have you heard of the rule of 7 before?
I've heard of it, but I don't know if all my listeners have heard of the rule of 7.
Okay, so in marketing and sales, when you're trying to get consumers to be engaged, there's something called the rule of 7. And that typically states, and now this isn't 100% of the time, but it does typically state that a consumer has to have 7 different interactions with your brand, whether that be messaging on social media, a targeted ad, a commercial on television. A consumer has to see your brand 7 times before actually taking action. And so that's the same for any event you're doing as a nonprofit in this virtual age that we're in. You can't just do one Facebook post or send one email, make one phone call and expect a great return. No, you have to flood the media with what you're asking for, with that engagement, with the time, with the place. You have to provide all those details well in advance, at least 7 times, to get that consumer or patron, in this case, to take action. So when I say communication is key, I really mean communication is key, and not just once, not twice, at least 7 times, and making sure you have all of this data and information together in that nice know before you go document well in advance.
Oh, yeah, that's great information. I imagine you would have something on there if it's an online event, if you have to catch it live, or if you can catch it live and there's also a replay. So that would be good to know. If for some reason, are they canceling everything? Are they shifting around their whole schedule to make it? And if they would have had in the know before you go that there's a replay available, they might not have had to do all that work and just caught it the next day when they had plenty of time. So that's pretty cool that people know about that. You mentioned in there that you don't know what you don't know. I'm in the military. When you make a mistake, you get to write a checklist or you get to rewrite an instruction. And what I like to do is when I'm having a conversation with a group of professionals about this, and if someone says, yeah, well, they already know that. I was like, okay, can we give this instruction to somebody that doesn't work in this office and they can execute this thing? And if I see any kind of cringe, I'm like, yeah, we've got to add it in there because they have to be able to do it step by step. I mean, I'm in the military. We talk about life and death, and it's a real concern depending on what we're doing. So if this whole office, God forbid, blew up today, could someone take this instruction and recreate what it is that we're doing and do it effectively and efficiently? And if the answer is no, then we got some work to do, and we've got to rewrite it. We got to rework and retweak it. Now, I know in the nonprofit world, it's not actually life and death for most things, although it may feel like life and death. But one fundraiser is not going to solve world hunger, and one fundraiser shouldn't have you closing your shop up. So I say that just to say, invite yourself to your dang party. There are so many people that just work themselves to the bare minimum. That doesn't sound right, not the bare minimum. They work themselves half to death, and they wonder why they didn't have a good time, and they start dreading these events. Get the things set up that you need to get up. Get the help that you need to get them set up. And then on showtime, invite yourself to the party. Show up and have a good time. Because if you're not having a good time, why even do it?
No, that's a great point. And I know it can be different in nonprofit than the military with having, all of your policies and procedures in place. But that is such an important piece is exactly what you said, to invite yourself to your own party. And sometimes nonprofits are one woman show or one man show. So it does seem almost like life or death sometimes because this one person has all of these responsibilities. But it is so important to enjoy your successes as well and sit back after you researched all that data and put on this virtual event and pivoted 1,000 times and pushed out more messaging than you ever wanted to push out in your entire life. Take a breath, just think about the impact that was made, even if you didn't meet your goals or you had overly aggressive goals, because it's 2020 and we can't predict, all of the fundraising trends. You're that much closer, you're so much closer than you were before. And even if, all of the funds weren't raised, your message was in front of an audience, with all of the social media, all of the pushing out of communication, you got your nonprofit featured and all of these different, platforms and different groups maybe that wouldn't have had exposure to your typical in-person event. Now you got that exposure. So it's a great opportunity, the silver linings of COVID for sure. But you don't see that if you don't invite yourself to your own party, to your point, Travis.
Absolutely. So you've been involved in hundreds of fundraisers, it sounds like. Is that a true statement?
Oh, yes. Indeed.
I want to know, and I love asking this question, what are some of the most different, bizarre or eccentric, just something that people aren't doing or people don't know about it? Because if you don't know about it, you can't do it. What are some of the coolest fundraisers you've been a part of?
Well, I would say total theme concepts are always fun. When you have all of your guests dress up, even virtually, that's been really fun, for all the different Zoom burnouts and things like that. People are like, oh, not another online event. I have to log on to Zoom again. But when you log on to Zoom and everyone you're looking at is in full pirate costumes, it's not that same level of Zoom burnout. It's a little bit more engaging. So I'm all about the total theme concept from, sending out a cocktail recipe in advance that's like the theme martini, because we all know alcohol tends to make people more philanthropic as well. So that's always great for your virtual fundraiser. Anything with a theme and anything that adds a little competition, because that's just human nature. We're competitive. And if it comes to raising dollars, that's great for the nonprofit. Let's be competitive about raising those dollars and see who can raise the most. Gets people engaged and it helps their ego a little bit too.
Yeah, absolutely. So what does a competition at a fundraiser look like?
Oh my gosh, so many different avenues for competitions. Some of my favorite have been where there's, let's say, a couple different candidates, 5 or 6 different candidates. Maybe they're being honored for an award, or maybe there's one award, and now like the event is the final competition to get that award. I've seen different events have auction tables for each candidate. So Travis, if you were a candidate, you would say have like the green auction table, and I would have the blue auction table, and so on and so forth. And so ahead of the event, online on social media and things like that, you're bragging about your auction items and trying to say, oh, I have the best auction items. Make sure you come to the green table and bid. And so then I'm doing the same thing. And we're all trying to, one, not only get the best donations, that's good for the nonprofit. So we're kind of taking work off of the fund development professional, because we are now contributing auction items, we're marketing the auction items, and we're getting competitive bidding going. So all the way around, we're having fun, having a little competition, and helping the nonprofit at the same time. So that has got to be one of my favorite fundraising competitions that I've seen, as well as the ones that are like, if you think back to like a PTO or PTA fundraiser, like the dunk tank, those, everyone likes to see a little bit of embarrassment there too.
I've actually been in a dunk tank. It was for Thanksgiving a few years ago, and I was the new guy, and they wanted to make sure everyone got a chance to dunk me. It was a lot of fun, but it was Thanksgiving, and I got pneumonia, but I still had a good time. They're like, you were wet. It was hilarious. I didn't see you the next week. I said, yeah, I had pneumonia.
Well, competitions, but not at that expense. Just a little, maybe a little lower than that.
I will get sick on your behalf.
There's no rest in fundraising, is there?
No. So I talked to a gal in the UK, and when they do their galas, a lot of time they put tablets at the different tables, and people are fundraising on this tablet. They're not going to an app. So people at the table are seeing what is going on there. And one of their things that they did is they would put rival companies at the same table for just the competition thing to see, like, I am definitely not going to let this guy be better at philanthropy than I am. I'm going to put in a couple extra bucks, and the guy will be out getting a cocktail, and he'll come back and be like, oh, he thinks he can just slip one by me, and they'll put in an extra couple of bucks. And there's some pretty interesting numbers that come out of those type of events. But you talked about a pirate theme. Did they have like a buried treasure map? And did they have like parrots? What did that look like?
Oh my gosh. So that particular event was all pirate themed. From, you had to come in costume, and the MC spoke with, args, and he had a whole pirate accent going on like Jack Sparrow. There was a treasure chest of gift cards, kind of like a fishing game, where it was like a magnetic fishing pole, and you would scoop up a gift card. So that was kind of pirate themed. But hands down, I think my favorite part was the auction. Everyone is dressed as a pirate. And so I'm making the announcement, okay, you have 1 minute left. The auction's about to close. Place your final bids. And all of these pirates come up to me, which is a little scary, but also exciting because, they're coming to bid. And then they drew swords. So now it is 1 minute, well, I guess like 50 seconds until the auction closes. There's super competitive bidding. People are grabbing pens and trying to bid over each other, and then drawing swords because they were that competitive about their auction items. They were like, nope, nobody else is going to bid against me. I have my sword out. So that was quite the event, and just seeing that replicated virtually and in some of these smaller like bubble or hybrid events it's been really inspiring to see people kind of getting back into the swing of things in this pandemic we're in.
Oh, that sounds like a lot of fun. I had a guest on probably about this time last year. Patrick Kirby came on. He's a fantastic, energetic fundraiser, but he was talking about that he hosted an adult prom, and they had the corny photos, and they had big bows and big crazy hair. And like, instead of the punch bowl getting spiked, it just starts spiked because everyone's an adult. And they had like the king and queen of the event. And it was just a great, great fun evening. So I love to hear that there's different things out there where people are doing. Are like, really? That's what you guys are doing? Why not? Why the heck not? I've got a client who's a former NFL player, and they're in the works talking about right now, because there's a bunch of them in town, that their fundraiser is going to be a flag football game where you create your team to play against the pros. And that's going to be a lot of fun when that comes out.
Oh, that's going to be a lot of fun. That's going to get some great media attention. See, unique ideas like that are great for the nonprofit. I love to see that innovation and getting the community involved.
Absolutely. Brian Paul, another guest of mine, runs Veterans for Life USA, a good friend of mine. He does the Warrior Challenge, where he has a ton of different veteran nonprofits show up to an event, and then veterans, first responders, and then invariably people that showed up with their stuff as well. They participate in an obstacle course and a race around the lake and a couple of different events to see, who's better. Are the police better? Is fire better? Is the Army better? Who's got the better team? That was a lot of fun earlier this summer. Even some events are still going live during COVID times, but just great events. I love how people are doing that. So what else is cool about AmFund?
Well, something that's really cool, I think anyways, is we developed our own auction platform. So like I said, we've been around for 21 years, and historically that was at special events and fundraising at special events. open asks, auctions, all of that. And then, like I mentioned, with our grant program, we were just trying to figure out, how do we continue to help nonprofits in this ever-changing world? And so right when our board was like, yes, we need to just give unrestricted funds, we need to launch grants, we need to, be there for nonprofits in their time of need, they also took a step back and said, okay, we've been providing all of these educational resources around special event fundraising. We've been showing up to special events and helping them fundraise. What do we do now? And so we quickly launched our own auction platform. That was no small task. There's so much technical work that goes in behind the scenes. I have a total new appreciation for, but we did it. And so that was really exciting to be able to be there and offer that to these nonprofits when they need it most. And in fact, actually, one of the first auctions we did on our own auction platform was another veterans organization that just happened around Veterans Day. So that was really exciting to be a part of.
That sounds really cool. I know there's a few platforms out there like BidPay and a couple different ones. What is yours called?
So it's our AmFund VIP auction platform. So it's all branded to us and to the nonprofit who will be using it. You simply just apply, same as how you would apply with us for a grant. You just reach out, get more information. And if it would be a good fit for your nonprofit, we bring it to our board and the board approves support. And then you've got your auction platform. It's amazing. It's such an awesome tool. And I'm so happy that we're able to evolve and be able to offer this to nonprofits when they literally can use it now more than ever.
Well, I'm combing through your website and I'm looking at something I've just been dying to ask you about. What is the Fundraising Travel Program?
Yes. Okay. So super interesting concept. Everyone travels. I know you do. I mean, you've been all over. So people like to travel, right? They don't usually think of it as being philanthropic. They don't travel in support of a cause. Typically, they travel in kind of a selfish way. Oh, it's our anniversary. Oh, I want to go here. It's our yearly trip. It's more of, your selfish spend. It's not your philanthropic pocket. So when you're doing your budgeting as a donor and you're making all these decisions, if you say you're going to give this children's nonprofit $10,000, that didn't come out of your travel pocket. You still have this pocket of funds you're going to use to travel. And that has nothing to do with the nonprofit. Like, it's not bad on them. They just didn't ask. So our founders came up with this fabulous idea from going to all these different fundraising events. And, we've all been to an auction when you see a really great trip to Mexico and you bid on it and it expires like yesterday and you never get to use it and life happens. And so then it was just kind of a wasted opportunity. And so you were excited and you bid on it, but then you didn't get to use it. So they took that idea and amplified it. So what they did was they brought a whole staff, a whole travel team on board as a part of our nonprofit, simply to create these trips and experiences for nonprofit fundraising events, for the nonprofit to be able to capture additional unrestricted funds and the donor to be able to have an amazing trip and credit that nonprofit with the travel. So now you go to a fundraising event that AmFund is supporting and you see this fabulous auction of travel items. Maybe it's like a trip to Key West, maybe a trip to Italy, you name it. We've probably created an awesome trip. We even did a Game of Thrones trip last year that was really cool to Dubrovnik. And so those trips now are good for 3 years. So you don't have to worry about, life happening and you not being able to go. And in that 3-year time span, you'll probably invite your friends or invite your family. And so now by adding additional people to your trip, the nonprofit is getting additional donations even 3 years later. So that's what the Fundraising Travel Program is. It's all about helping patrons travel for a good cause. And that cause is whatever cause they're supporting at that fundraising event. So it's like the gift that keeps on giving. the patron gets this amazing memory that they'll remember forever and credit the nonprofit with. The nonprofit gets additional unrestricted funds through the auction. And, everyone wins because it's, again, that philanthropic spending, the travel spending, and a little bit of the ego spending, back to that selfish gift. So it's just an all-around win-win-win for everyone involved.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking at your Castles of Ireland tour and your Greek Odyssey, both of which I'm interested in and I have been talking about with my wife. We've been talking about going to Greece. She's got this little Greece page that she follows on Facebook, and she's like, "Oh, did you see the wonderful pictures, sweetie? Don't you think we should go there?" And we were set up to go this summer. We were going to do it for our anniversary trip. And then COVID happened and Ross pivoted in the latter well. Screaming pivot. Every time I hear that word, that's all I think of is Ross trying to get the couch up the stairs. But those trips look great, and I've got some fantastic travel in the past year. Was very, very exciting. I'm kind of sad that I didn't know about AmFund like years ago.
Yeah, it's like the best kept secret. And so that's something that we've definitely been focusing on a little bit more as a silver lining of COVID. It's given us time to look at ourselves as an organization. Okay, we preach all of this great, educational resources about marketing and about getting yourself out in front of the media. Oh, maybe we should do that a little bit more. So we have, and doing things like this and interviews with you. I mean, it's just a great way to help the world know about the resources we offer. Because again, it's never a cost or anything like that to a nonprofit, because it's fulfilling our mission of helping raise funds for nonprofits. So we're really trying to focus on getting ourselves out there a little bit more. We were awarded the Fundraiser of the Year award from Nonprofit Pro this year. So that was a pretty big push to help get some more nonprofits to be aware of, the resources that we offer. But otherwise, yeah, it's pretty much been word of mouth, and it's been like a little fundraising secret. But we don't want it to be a secret. We want to help as many nonprofits as we can.
Well, then, have you got like the Google ad grant for AmFund?
Yes, actually, we did last year, and we went through a pretty big rebranding. So if you're on our website, you'll see this pear everywhere. So before last year, our logo was a tree. And then we added the pear because the pear tree, historically speaking, has always symbolized prosperity, good health, fortitude, wellness, all the things that we see and want in our nonprofit partners. So then we created this pear tree as our logo. And then we said, we don't need the tree. We just need the pear. It's the golden pear. And so through those iterations, we kind of put pause on our Google ad grant because we were rebranding and everything. So it's definitely something we have to get back into in 2021. But your podcast was a great resource for information about that as well.
Yeah, she's talking about the interview I did with Preston Cohen, who's just a Google ad grant guru, and he used to work for Facebook, so he understands how those ads work, and he teaches you how to do it. Teaches you how to get it and then how to utilize it. So if you haven't checked out that interview, hop back to, again, this time last year and check out my interview with Preston Cohen. It's pretty amazing. This has been a lot of fun, Kalley. I'm so excited to share all the great things that AmFund is doing with the golden pear and the trips and also the grants. And also they're going to help you fundraise. And also they're really cool every time you talk to them. So where's the best place for people to get a hold of you or to contact AmFund?
Absolutely. So our website is www.amfund, that's AMFUND.org, amfund.org. You can apply for our grant straight on our website. It's just /giving. Or you can always call us, reach out to us at 407-895-8000. Like us on Facebook, LinkedIn, we're on social media, and we always have someone answering our phones. So literally call us anytime and we will be there.
That's awesome. Thanks so much, Kalley.
Thank you, Travis.
You've been listening to The Nonprofit Architect. To listen to all our past shows, visit http://nonprofitarchitect.org. And be sure to subscribe, rate, and review our show. Thank you.
Hey, everyone. Being able to educate your board is one of the most important ways for a leader to build strong relationships and foster a positive and productive culture between board members and their executive director. Run by leadership expert Mark Buzan, the Nonprofit Board Summit provides outstanding know-how, resources, and tips for leaders looking to step up and unlock the full potential of their endeavors. If you're a nonprofit executive director looking to build a stronger board, visit nonprofitboardsummit.org/EDS. Or if you are a board member looking to make more of an impact, visit nonprofitboardsummit.org. The Nonprofit Board Summit runs from February 26th through the 28th. I'll hope to see you there.